at safeties, that coach, Vinnie Sunseri, he'll work primarily with the safety and the star position. That includes returning starters Jordan Castell, Bryce Thornton. There's your safeties, Sharif Denson, Aaron Gates at nickel. Here's Sunseri on him coming to Florida.
I'm just excited to be here. It's a great opportunity. In the SEC, had a great program under a great head coach, with a great defensive staff. Just blessed to be here and have this opportunity.
What's your history like with Billy from y'all's Alabama ties, and just to kind of reconnect here?
So Coach Napier was a position coach at Alabama when I was playing there, and he was pretty preoccupied with the receivers when I was there. So, and Coach Saban was coaching the DBs. So we got to see each other, and I got to see how he handled himself in such a professional manner every single day in the building. And I've always had a great respect for him as a football coach, as a person, as a father and a husband. He always handles himself in the right way. So when this opportunity came about, I thought it was a no-brainer.
What do you think of the room that you're taking over, the safety position, and some of the talent that you've got there?
You know, it's unbelievable. I have a lot of great guys, or we have a lot of great guys that are talented, smart, have a lot of experience, and then there's also young guys that are coming in. They are green, but extremely talented and extremely eager to learn, and everybody is extremely locked in meetings. They go onto the practice field and they execute as best as they possibly can. It's not always going to be perfect, but that's what the corrections are for. But they're doing everything that we ask of them as a staff, and I think we've gotten better this spring. We're not where we need to be, but we've taken steps in the right direction.
How much have some of these younger, maybe green players benefited from, whether it's Bryce being limited or the star position having some injuries, having to step up and take on a bigger workload?
You know, every opportunity on the football field is experience. And the only way you learn how to play the game of football is experience. So every rep, every opportunity, every chance they get on the field to see the speed of the game, to see the speed of the change of strength motion, and how you have to communicate and how you have to cover players, it's all different from high school to college. So I think they've benefited a lot. I think they've learned, they've grown, and they practice at an extremely high level. I mean, they go out there every single day and give it everything they got. And I'm extremely proud of them from this spring.
The benefit of having, Castell and Bryce, two guys that are basically 2-year starters, and what more do you feel like they need to develop as juniors?
I think they are extremely talented, they're extremely smart, and they understand what to do. I think the next step is to understand how the offense is going to attack them, and that's kind of what we've been talking about this spring. Not only what their role is in the defense, but what the concept of the defense is, and where you can sometimes be a little weak in some areas, and how you can anticipate that, and also anticipate motions, also anticipate where the ball can go in certain situations. So they've been extremely detailed in everything that they do. They're in the meeting rooms, they're asking questions, and it's great conversations. And I feel like the learning and the growth has been very high this spring, so it's been fun.
There we go, Vinny Sunseri. He ended his press conference by being asked what he looks for in a safety, and he says, quote, "A good coach told him size and speed is good, but the ability to get people lined up and communicate and get the back end set and have coverage responsibilities is what I look for. The ability to tackle in the open field and the ability to play the ball in the deep part of the field," in the quote. So Sunseri says, if you can do those things, you have burst and acceleration, the hand-eye coordination, the body and balance control, all those things come along with being able to do what's needed to play the position. And look, I mean, we've been there. We've seen it when guys cannot communicate on the back end. They might have all the talent in the world, but they just look so confused. Now, look, a lot of that to me is on coaching as well. You got to make sure your guys get it. All right, so that's not, to me, all players. But, of course, I mean, he said that's what he's looking for in players now. So players have got to do it. But, eventually, I think if it goes year by year by year and it's that same issue, that eventually, when the same issue creeps up year after year after year, that's eventually on coaching. That's not on players. And we saw that for too long under the previous staff. And we saw this defense give up some big plays in the last few years. Don't get me wrong. We've seen some improvement in that regard too. You don't see what Darren Wilson was talking about earlier. The lack of communication, just hands up in the air, of what this guy did or didn't do. We had our fair share of it at the start of last year. It got better, in that bend don't break style. Now we're looking to take the next step. So for the safety group, there's plenty of experience back there now, with Jordan Castell back there, Bryce Thornton back there. The communication aspect of it, the lack of confusion, it needs to be there. Now, to me, it's about those guys. They should know this defense. They know this defense, or they better know this defense. It's about being able to do those physical things for me next. Tackle in the open field. Play the deep part in the field. Play the ball in the deep part of the field. Create some turnovers. In working with the other new coaches on defense, Sunseri says, of course, working with Robert Bala is a plus because, remember, guys, they both are coming from Washington, so they work together. He saw how smart and detailed Bala is as a coach at linebacker, and that Bala pushed him to be a better coach. On Wilson, Sunseri says they come from different families in defense with Coach Saban and Coach Roberts, but it's all the same concepts. Says when the new coaches are talking with the players and with the installs that they see things in a lot of the same way. Sunseri goes on to say about Ron Roberts that he is learning so much from him and learn from all the experiences. That Roberts has done it all and it helps him see the pros and cons of doing things. Says Roberts runs an open dialogue staff and they're all pretty close. And then some more players he was asked about. One is Aaron Gates. Of course, he's injured. Got injured versus Ole Miss so late in the season, not going through spring practice. What he saw from Aaron Gates on film, Sunseri pointed out that he loves how tough he is, how smart he is, and how he communicates. In his coverage, he attacks the run, and he's an unbelievable football player. And in bouncing back from injury, Sunseri says Gates has a pro mentality. He's always on time. He's on point in rehab. He's detailed in the meetings and is doing more than he is asked to do. Also was asked about Lagonza Hayward specifically. Sunseri mentions, quote, he's big, strong, smart, mentally tough football player. Studies the game extremely hard, in the quote. Says it's crazy to see how much weight Lagonza Hayward moves in the weight room. Continues to say he's a great young man. And that was one. And I tell you what, that was probably, I think I heard it more, because I don't really think I've really pointed it out all that much. I think off-season workout talk can be a little overblown, good or bad. It's just hard to know. That's the part we don't get to see. Now, of course, you can see if guys are getting pushed around or if they're don't seem to be in shape, but it's still, I think there's a lot of guessing game on if something doesn't look good, they're just out of shape, or strength and conditioning must be a problem. So I don't usually dive into it too much. This is something we don't really get to see with our eyes. And plus, would we really know by watching workouts what's good or bad? No, probably not. Not like we do the game of football. So, but for this freshman class, I was hearing that was really something that really stood out about this group is how well they worked out, how advanced they were in that stage. Maybe I was hearing that more from this freshman class more than any other freshman class. And guys like Hayward, those edge players that they brought in, like Woods, Hayward was another one. Hilton Drake Stubbs. It was Dallas Wilson. Of course, it was just, but, Jalen Wiggins, Jaden Woods, those edge players. It's just heard a lot about the freshmen from the time of workouts and just how they fit in. And they fit in right away and how just impressive they were in that regard. And, look, early signs so far so good. As I said, we can take too much away from that aspect. We can take too much away from spring football performances, of course, but hearing that, seeing what we saw Saturday with all of so many true freshmen getting critical snaps in a spring game setting. I know. But seeing so many guys out there making plays, and then going back and hearing what we heard workouts, it probably shouldn't be a surprise. And we'll see how many contribute during the season. Development's different for everybody. You certainly don't want to rush them out there. Florida's roster's in a good shape where, hey, look, if you're seeing freshmen out there, and I say this a lot of time in recruiting, if you see freshmen out there specifically for the 2025 Florida Gators, you best bet those guys went out there and proved they deserve to be on the field. Because there's experience in most spots. I mean, just go through it. On offense, wide receiver's about the only spot you have a chance for it. But if Trey Wilson comes back healthy, it can be what we think he can be. J. Michael Sturdivant through the transfer portal, Aiden Mizell. Those guys should be carrying the offense in the receiver room. But none of us are going to be shocked if we see a Dallas Wilson and a Vernell Brown III out there making plays. And if they did, they went out there and earned it. You're not going to see it on the offensive line. Not going to see it running back. They go in defense. You start going to the secondary. You start going to the secondary to see it. You're not going to see it at linebacker. You're not going to see it along the defensive line, at edge. Now, edge, I think, is a place you can. But with Sapp and Gums and Kofi Asari and those guys, make sure I go through that group. But Cam James, of course, LJ McCray. I mean, if you're seeing Jalen Wiggins and Jaden Woods out there, boy, they earned it. They went out there and beat some good guys. Or not even necessarily beat some good guys, but hey, now we don't have to play Sapp so much, and maybe he gets injured, or Cam James so much, and LJ McCray so much, George Gums so much. Give those guys a breather. They don't have to be on the field as much. They're fresh when they get in there, and you're saving them from injury. But that's only going to happen if Florida trusts to put those freshmen out there. And then we move to the secondary, since we're talking about that secondary right now. Lagonza Hayward, from everything I can gather through spring intel, has certainly fit in pretty well and play in a nickel spot at the same time. He's looked good. Hilton Drake Stubbs was everywhere Saturday. I think your numbers are good. I think your talent level's good. Definitely need some guys to improve and play. Even Jordan Castell as a starter. I think the group can certainly play better. I don't know if they're at the point where you really hit the transfer portal. If I'm looking transfer portal, and since we're talking about the secondary here, I might look for another corner or a guy who's versatile, can play in multiple spots in the secondary. I mean, if you can get a unicorn like Triquest Bridges again, let's go for it. I mean, what he was able to do last year was save Florida's defense later in the season. If you can go get another guy like that, then by all means, yes, let's go do it. So experienced starters, of course, but still can elevate play at safety and star.